We are recording. All right. So we talked on, what was it, Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And today is Thursday. And how are you doing?
Well, I thought a lot about, and I re-listened to our session, about, being on the protocol, and my nose got back and forth.
Yeah.
And I really thought about, if I was really telling myself the truth and being honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I was thinking that, I was still wanting to lose weight, and I was thinking there was some part of me. So I feel like the best thing for me to do is actually go off the protocol and just let myself be. I've never done that.
Oh my God, good for you, because you've got to tell the truth. And if you're trying to gratify the weight loss, and it's there, can you see that where that goes? Because we can gratify that weight loss, but where does that trail, if you want to call it a trail, where does it go on the map?
Yeah, it goes back to, the same
cycle.
Abuse,
It's the same circle.
And I've done it for so long, it's hard for me to see any other way.
Right, that would be kind of easy, right? Because you're like, well, yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's chasing this, you're chasing the mirage that you think is real. And and I think what's important in the process when you get here is to see, well, that mirage isn't real because it goes in circles.
Yeah.
So you think that trail is going to take you to a destination, but it doesn't. It goes in circles. And you always end up in the same exact place. But everybody's like, oh my God, you got to go on that trail. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
But yet the same people are going in circles too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just been so long. It's brainwashed for so long that I don't even know what, obviously this process I'm opening up to it, but I'm also, there's still 1 foot in. So it didn't feel right to me. So I really was searching myself for the last couple of days. And then I realized that, for me to really heal, I need to face what I'm still, holding on to.
Yeah, you're going to face it. You're going to have to face it, whether you go on the round, put all the effort in, lose the weight, then you go into restriction, then you're going to overeat, then you're going to gain the weight back, and you're going to be right back here.
Yeah, and I'm so tired.
So you can either, can save the energy and face it right now, or you can go through another cycle, which you might at some point go through another cycle, going in a circle one more time, just to make sure that it's dead. Just to make sure. Are you sure it doesn't end up in that destination? Are you sure, Robin?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people still think, well, then, okay, well, what if I use the hunger scale and then I can lose weight? And then I'm like recovered and I'm thin and superior and I'm free.
Yeah.
It's like no and no, and you don't get both. You don't get superiority and freedom. You get superiority and self-righteousness and self-thought and self. You don't get freedom. You get yourself. Anyways.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was watching one of your videos, and one of your clients was saying that they stepped on the scale a couple of times, and it was that kind of going back to that same place even after. Yeah.
You got it. And so you can I think either choice you make, you have to know what's the truth, and I can't, you have to make that choice. Can you see why I'm so wishy-washy around telling someone what to do?
Yeah, of course, because you're not going to tell me. Yeah, I had to come to it myself.
You do, and you have to tell the truth, right? So.
Yeah. So.
Well, how do you feel about that?
I feel better. I feel a relief.
Okay, so tell me how you've been doing. Once you made the decision, how have you transitioned off?
Well, I haven't really done much because it was yesterday that I made it last night.
Did you eat off the protocol yesterday?
No, I didn't. And I didn't inject myself this morning.
Okay.
So I was trying to I don't know. I don't know how much.
So what I would do today, you haven't done any damage. What I would do today is I would continue to eat the similar protocol food and give it a few days, because your body is very sensitive. Your thyroid is more sensitive to food. Your adrenals are more sensitive. Your entire body is more sensitive. So, you honor that. Give that respect.
Okay.
Right? Because you can say, I'm done, screw this shit. But where's the respect for how this is going to impact the body?
Yeah, that's what
exactly. You set it down gently, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That would, if we've got the option of setting it down gently, that's what we should do. Sometimes we don't have the option, because some people are binging at the time, and there is no gentle end, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're going to set it down. Put it down, bury it. Let's be done now.
Yeah.
So then that means you really have to look at how, if this is to be taken serious, and if you want to make this real, you have to look at the fact and make it real. And the reality is that if you're no longer pursuing thinness, the body, and the way you've been taught, okay, and what you believed, is that the body will never lose weight because it has to be told what to do and you have to force it, correct?
Yeah.
So if we are no longer forcing this, what does your emotional mind tell you is going to happen?
That I'm going to gain weight.
Yeah. And that's what's driving potential fear. And so we can sit here and go, well, logically, chances are, because you're not going to be binging anymore and you're going to be eating hunger, you're going to lose weight, but you can't even gratify that.
Yeah.
Don't you agree? That's just staying in the same place. You're not going anywhere. So you're going to have to face the truth of what you don't want to face. This is where this process is so painful.
Yeah.
When have you ever faced the truth of what life would be like if you were permanently this size and bigger? Because we have to go into the biggerness too. Not just, can I accept where I'm at? Well, let's start there. Can you accept the body as it is right now, permanently, forever, with its ailments, with the stigma, with whatever you hate about it?
For the most part.
Where is the least part?
I guess I'm still stuck on, health-wise, having that extra weight.
Okay, so you're brainwashed, and that's what someone told you. So let's just assume they're right, that you're so unhealthy with this weight. You're going to die sooner. You're just like, you might as well have the plague.
Yeah.
Even though science completely disagrees with that emotional thought, we can't use science. We have to use your brainwashing and the dogma from the diet industry. Yeah. Right? Because that's what you believe. You actually believe that shit. So we can't. You just have to accept that if they're true, if it's true, is it worth continuing to go in circles for some concept of what health is?
No.
Are you really healthy doing that? Even if you're thinner, is it? Okay.
No, I mean, I'm more unhealthy what I've done to myself for the last doing this dieting.
So you have to really question then this concept of health if you stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So do you really care about your health? Because if you do, what should you do?
Stop binging, dieting.
Yeah. You see how brainwashed you were in that statement?
Yeah.
You're not even questioning that concept, even though there are decades of science and research to prove otherwise. It's actually a complete and total lie. It's a lie. Science has shown that it's actually better to carry weight. That when you go into dieting and restricting, your likelihood of getting a heart attack and having issues skyrocket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much why aren't you hearing about it? Well, because there's a huge industry that would love to just promote and magnify and blow out of proportion and catastrophize your weight. They've been doing it since after World War II. Why? Because it makes a ton of money. Yeah. And their entire businesses, family-owned businesses, are running off of that belief. This diet center, of course we can say there's a whole lot of work that the body has to do. But the thought that you're unhealthy right now doesn't come from the body, didn't come from the truth of your body, did it? came from some concept that you were told, and then you're holding on to it. Therefore, what happens for you? You hold on to fear.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid to die.
Yeah.
So underneath this all is fear of death.
Yeah.
So what if you are going to die earlier if you stop what you're doing? What does that tell you about the actual state of the body? You're going to die.
Yeah.
And your behavior is basically prolonging something that's inevitable.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're saying, even it doesn't.
You're going to die. If you stop dieting and you become a normal person and you die, you're going to die. You have something horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Your natural state shouldn't require this insane kind of behavior with food and fear and isolation and all of this insanity just to be healthy.
Yeah.
Right? That means you're inherently unhealthy.
Yeah.
If you're thin, okay, let's just say you're thinner with the perception of healthy. If it requires all this work, you're diseased.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Are you catching me? Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Okay, that should shift your paradigm around it.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, that's true. If I was healthy, it wouldn't require all this insanity. It wouldn't require that I eliminate gluten and starch and dairy and nuts and legumes, and I shouldn't have to eat like this. That's the sign that you are inherently totally diseased. So the concept that you're healthy having to do all of that stuff is actually contrary to the truth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but the people doing all that are presenting themselves on a pedestal of health.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the emotional problem is that because you're seeking thinness, in this concept of safety, whether it comes from health or whether it comes from I want approval. I want people to be proud of me. Those are the emotions that are making you very susceptible to believing charlatans.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You got it, because they say, this worked for me, and all of a sudden you're willing to do something that's based on a lie.
Yeah, totally,
Anyways.
Yeah,
so...
Yeah, yeah.
So what we're going to have to do, it's really not unconvincing you. You have to just go into the fact that if they're true, are you okay with unhealth?
Yeah.
Me too. I am. Because there's nothing, to me, I was suicidal in my perfectness. I didn't, it took so much of my soul, my life, my reality, consciousness, any type of awareness was totally devoted to this one thing. I'd rather give up the health of the body, or it's clearly a perceived health.
Yeah.
Because the morbidity rate goes up when you have an eating disorder. Your likelihood of dying goes up, and having disease goes up when you are dieting, and binging and dieting, and the pairing of the two. So with that said, it was like I'd rather give up this concept of health, the concept of being loved, the concept of someone liking me, because I believe this life has value. And what is that life? Well, it's my awareness. It's me actually experiencing what I'm experiencing. I want to be open to what that is. And if I have to continue to focus in on, am I healthy? Am I superior? Am I good enough? Am I lovable? I'm never going to actually experience what life is. I'm going to be a slave to trying to fix or figure out what out there can make me feel better inside here. It's an inside problem. I don't feel good inside. So if I don't fix that, I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. The problem is you don't feel good inside, and you want to feel better. That's not a problem. The problem is you're not looking at the inside to fix it. You're looking at something outside of you to compensate or use to feel better. You think you need aid or need assistance. Right? And so the reason someone like myself did this, and you're doing this, and everybody else you hear in my YouTube videos do this, is because you truly believe at some point you bought the idea that you are inherently flawed, you suck, you're not good enough, Therefore, you're going to find something that you can attach yourself to.
Absolutely.
And this is so simple. It can be something as simple as you're not good enough, so you need a religion. You're not good enough, so you need to be thinner. You need to have longer eyelashes. You need to wear more makeup. You need to get better grades. You need to, how many needs and shoulds and needs and shoulds and needs and needs and needs. Those are all based on attachments, thoughts, concepts, and belief systems that basically thrive on you sucking in your you believing that you suck.
Yeah.
So how are we going to fix this? Do you have to fix yourself?
No.
And don't you agree? You might not believe you suck. You just might be afraid of sucking.
Yeah. No, I think I believed that I sucked.
And then are you also afraid that you'll suck? I'm afraid I will suck. I'm afraid of it. I'm fearful that I will suck. I'm afraid that if I look inside of here, I can't handle I can't handle the truth. What if the truth is I suck? Because that's what's underneath it all. What if the truth is that you suck? You do. What if that's true? Have you ever thought of that?
No.
Sounds...
What if I really know that I'm suck?
What if you do? What if it's true? You are inherently a suckier human being. I know, right? It's like, wow, okay, well, never thought of it that way. You have to ask if there's something wrong with that. Well, what's wrong with that?
I mean, no, I guess I'm kind of freeing that would be it, and that's okay.
Well, that's the thing, is you have to really think, if it's true, I'm a weaker person, I'm not as smart, I'm not as spiritual, I'm not as creative, I'm not as pretty, I'm not as attractive, I'm not as whatever.
Yeah.
I suck in relation to those standards, right?
Yeah.
What if it's true? You're not good for the job. You really should just work at Costco. You really should just work. What if that's really your level of functioning? What if it's true? What if you're not marriage worthy? What if you suck as a parent? What if you really are inferior at your core?
Yeah.
If it's true, can you handle that?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Right? Don't you want to find out sooner or later? I mean, you should kind of find out, because if it's true, you're going to get freedom right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like a big thing lifted.
I know. It's like the anti-everything that you've learned in your life.
Yeah.
You are so inferior. You're so weak. You're incapable. You suck. Okay? Let's just come right down to it. Is there something wrong with that?
No.
Ding, 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 ding. Wow. Right? Because you're always told you're not allowed to suck. Well, why? What if I am sucky? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What it relieves you of, and this is something that this is something that came to me not from a freaking therapist. This is like anti-therapy, right?
Yeah.
Because what typically what'll happen in therapy is someone's going to go, you don't suck. Look, you're a good person. You're funny. So they compensate for you.
Absolutely.
And even something that I've said, you're a good person. You're kind. It's like redefine what that means. But I'm not saying you don't suck. You do suck. Okay? We all suck. I suck.
Yeah.
I don't have blue eyes. Okay? Mine are green.
Yeah.
I got gray hair. I'm not dyeing my hair yet. My eyelashes are like the size of, an ant leg. Okay. There's so much sucking. I cuss. I mean, think of the layers of me being inadequate, inferior, not good enough. I might not be on time when I call you. I might run over and be late. I mean, think of how unprofessional I am. I don't have enough credentials. In fact, I have an undergraduate Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science. Okay, it's physiology. I don't have a master's degree. Oh my God. I don't even have a license to be a therapist. I'm not there. I don't have any background in psychology other than I took a sports psychology class and I've just done my own studying, right?
Yeah. Like, no, it's great then.
Okay, I'm just saying. On my feet, my second toe is significantly longer than my big toe. Okay, fugly ass feet. I think they're pretty, but you know what? My kids think they're the nastiest looking feet on the planet. I mean, they're big. I was supposed to be like 5'10", 6 foot. I have man hands. I have mammoth man hands. People thought I was going to be so tall, and I stopped growing at like 5'9". It was such a disappointment for everybody. Such a loser. I went to college on a full ride scholarship, had to leave. Let it go. I was told at some point I was supposed to be this Olympic athlete in the heptathlon by Ed Jacoby. He used to teach. And guess what? I never even completed track and field because of my mental illness. Failure, piece of shit.
Wow.
I totally failed at religion. I tried, though. You get my point?
I totally get your point. Yeah, okay. It's very, very powerful. I mean, I totally get it.
Well, the question is, if you think that it's not okay to suck, you're going to carry feelings of inadequacy and you're going to feel bad about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
What do you think that feeling bad about it does to your psyche? To all people, psyche?
Well, then you have to compensate.
You got it. Yeah. It promotes compensatory behaviors. Yeah. And hiding. Don't forget the hiding and embarrassment. And I'm embarrassed. Absolutely. I'm so embarrassed of myself. Why? Because you're so grandiose in your concept of what you should be?
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, this is like the hugest part.
Well, me too. Me too. It's like you really have to question these concepts of what success is. Is it, what have you believed and just never questioned that is contributing to your overall sense of suckiness? Now you're hearing that going, God, thank God I suck. Yeah, no shit. But the problem is if it contributes to the negative feelings about sucking, you're more likely to use a substance to compensate and to use behavior. So this is where behavioral addiction and substance abuse comes in. Because your brain is wired to want to seek safety. That's survival mode, right? And so if you are inherently flawed and you're judging that as bad, how can you feel better about it? If you inherently suck and you feel bad about it, you're going to have codependency. Period.
You're going to want to escape it too.
You got to fix it. Yeah, and if you suck, you got to fix you got to fix something you can attach yourself to. Uh-huh. To go, well, you know what, I might be fat and ugly, but look at me, I'm funny and I'm smart. And at least I have cool shoes. You see what I mean? It's, or I'm super religious, or, I'm super spiritual, that spiritual ego that's abundant right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. I mean, wow.
So you never question the beliefs that you've had, that you compare yourself to, that you go, well, I'm inferior to that, therefore I suck, and that's bad. Yeah. And so you're immediately in a position of fight or flight because our wiring is built to want to feel safe with ourselves relative to a tribe. Am I safe? So one of the things I've gone into, or I went into, is, well, okay, take everything away that I'm attaching myself to that gives me an illusion of betterment. So not just the thin body, the concept of being sexually attractive, all the symbolism around it. My youth at the time, my religion, that was a big one. That was like 90% of the problem.
Because that's how you were brought up, your mom.
It was my identity. It was more than just, this is a way of living. This was who you are. So there's no alternative. So I'm married to this guy. So am I attached to the concept of marriage? There's so many levels and levels of brainwashing, right? And then, so you got to start with the big ones. And the small ones may not be that important, Like I'm wearing makeup right now. Put makeup on today, brainwashing. Do I care? No.
No, yeah. You're not attached to it. Yeah.
And not at all. I here nor there. It might be I trained 4 people today in the gym. So I thought, well, maybe I should look like I did something. I can't go there in my jammies like I do my YouTube videos sometimes.
Yeah.
So there, I can live in it, but I don't take it so serious.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have a lot of fun with it. If I'm going out and I'm decked out, I might put fake eyelashes on. It looks like, oh my God, my eyeballs look bigger. Does it change anything? Do I feel like I am hot? I'm hot. No. It's kind of funny. I'm like, I'm in costume. I'm in a costume. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And you know what? I probably suck at this costume, and I look like a fucking clown. And I'm okay with that. You see the difference?
Yeah.
It just frees me to be real. I just become a real person then. And that's what you were probably sensing when I was saying, what if you really do suck? What if it's true? You are weak, not as strong. What if that's the truth? And everything you're doing is a lie to try to pretend you're not.
Well, it was really freeing because that's me, trying to keep up all this bullshit that, because I feel like I suck and like pretending I don't feel like that and keeping up.
Well, just trying to meet a certain, because you want to feel worthy. Yeah. You want to feel worthy. Well, why can't you go in and accept your suckiness so that you can feel worthy now? Why do you got to achieve this concept to feel worthy? Why can't you just feel worthy? Well, because you think sucking sucks. So why don't you just question that first? Because don't you agree, like I was telling you, sucking is relative.
Yeah.
There's other things in your life where you're totally fine being sucky. You just need to apply it to body image.
Yeah.
Right? So if someone, a lot of people are very aware of religious zealotry where you're being shamed and you are being degraded and people are picketing and telling you that you are going to burn in hell. And do you get all bent up and pissed off and like, oh my God?
No, because that's not something that bothers me.
You see what I'm saying? So in terms of that space, you don't even give a shit. I'm totally fine burning in hell.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
Okay, so that's what it would feel like. And that just gives you a representation of something you understand that we're going to apply to body image. And the reason is because you have suffered. So is it worthy of suffering? So we could go, well, that person who's trying not to burn in hell is going to sacrifice so much freedom in life in fear of burning in hell. And there's consequences to that, to their psychological well-being, their relatedness to people. They're going to cut a lot of people off. They're going to have a very isolated life in their heaven.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
Correct. Yeah. I know. I'm like, good for you going, oh my God, that's what I'm doing. I know. And the hard part is too, when you've done that long enough physically, your damage is being done. I mean, I use the term damage lightly because to me, the body is not really damaged. It's doing what it is supposed to do when you're presenting it in an environment that promotes weight gain. So clearly the promotion of weight gain is then consistent enough that that's what the body's doing, and that's healthy. That's what it's supposed to do. That's evolution working perfectly. Under this circumstance, this is what is promoted, right?
Yeah. It's miraculous what the body does.
It is. So clearly it doesn't need this promotion.
Yeah.
There's no need for it. We don't have famine. There's no cataclysm. We're not, we're actually approaching the summer months where the soil is rich and the roots are growing and food is going to be bountiful. So your environment is not matching the physicality of the body. But what does that tell you about the environment that promotes this?
Well, it's like promoting like a famine.
You're living in lack. Yeah, because it's clearly not.
Yeah, I mean, physically, no. What's there is a totally different reality, but you're doing it.
Yeah, your brain is saying famine. The food available to you makes it accessible to behave with it in the way that is assuming there's famine. So your behavior with food is very third world oriented, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, like scarcity.
Totally. And that's how we're wired. So when someone has a binge eating disorder or claims to be, food addicted, it's a sign they live in perpetual famine. Famine is chasing them and they are trying to get away from it. And they're also forecasting a famine. So they're surrounded by previous famine, future famine, and they're constantly stimulating this obsession and need for food. Which to me is like, well, if you look at the environment of people that do this, they are chronic dieters and they have shame about their weight. And it's not just shame because they're morbidly obese. They had shame when they were of average weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just perpetual shame. They have shame when they lose weight. They have shame because it's not good enough yet. It doesn't matter. So it's like, you could change the physicality of someone and they're going to feel shame about themselves. It's still not good enough. And they still believe there's famine coming and there should be famine in the future. And they just live in perpetual food consumption.
Yeah.
Food, right?
Yeah.
And if you take them, like what I'm positioning you to willfully go into is a position of permanent abundance. Permanently living in a state where food is always there, all the time, in any quantity, at any moment. It is always there, always there, always there. And what will happen psychologically if it becomes permanent? See, the key is the permanence.
Yeah.
When it's temporary, that means famine is coming.
Yeah.
So let's visualize and experience the difference between the two. So remember that, did I talk to you about the table of abundance last time?
No.
Have you heard any of the YouTube?
I've heard you speak on that.
Okay, so the table of abundance, it's like I like to visualize a castle because, we've all seen pictures of the meat and the, just hordes and hordes of food on a table, right, in the Viking time.
Yeah.
So imagine, you have this dining hall that has food from all over the world, chefs, fast food, donuts from Winco, donuts from a pastry shop. I mean, you have everything at your fingertips, all candies, chocolates, vegetables from all over the world, all flown in. If it's seasonal, it's more abundant, fruits, grains, breads, everything you can imagine. Okay. Indian food, sushi, burritos, tacos, everything. Okay. And it's there for the rest of your life. And every time you eat, it restocks immediately. So if you want a bowl of cereal, you get a whole nother box right there. You want a ice cream sandwich? 5 more show up. Yeah. You want all 5 of those? 10 more show up after those 5. I mean, it's perpetually restocking. Think of just that thought alone, just the restocking of that food, that it is never ending. What would that change?
Well, you wouldn't feel like you were in a famine. So.
No, and you wouldn't finish it.
Yeah.
There's no finishing it.
Yeah.
I'll just get rid of this bag. Well, there's 5 more. Well, does it make sense to eat the whole bag then if there's 5 more?
No. There's no fear that it's going anywhere.
No. So there is no, you got it. So that table of abundance, the key is making it permanent. Now let's just imagine that next to this dining hall is the dieting hall. Let's just imagine how that table looks. It's real skinny. You can only eat on certain times. Everything is pre-done for you. You have no choice in quantity. So if you eat it and you're still hungry, sucks to be you. Everything is, you're completely controlled. The food's very restrictive.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is forever, right? Because other than the HCG protocol, which is very unique, if you follow it the way that I teach it, it's not to people who say the protocol and then you're going to do keto for the rest of your life. That's like perpetual starvation. Okay.
Yeah.
In the brain for sure. So imagine this table is super restrictive. You can only eat at certain times and there's only certain foods on there and all the rest is eliminated. So it's just not on the table. Next door is the table of abundance. So people are saying in order to be special, you need to sit at the dieting table. The dieting table proves that you can control yourself, that you are educated because you are so smart. You have willpower. It's just to prove yourself, right? And you're to live there.
Yeah.
What's going to happen if someone says, well, but you can go over to the other side if you feel like you deserve it?
Yeah, you're going to eat the whole fucking table. Yeah.
Well, because it's temporary.
Yeah.
You relate to that table of abundance in certain thoughts.
When you're ready to, yeah.
I deserve it because I did really well. So we get to celebrate with food and you get to go over to that table of abundance and what are you going to eat? Are you going to eat the food that's on your diet table? No. You're going to eat the food you feel deprived of.
Yeah.
And you're going to eat, so let's just say you get to stay at that table that day. So how are you going to leave the table? Because the next day you got to go back to the diet table.
Yeah.
So do you see how that table of dieting and deprivation really makes the table of abundance seem magical, special, exciting, and you're almost getting like it's a party. It's so fabulous over there. And when you go over there, you're going to be eating as much as you can for that period of time because you got to go back into famine. And then you're like, I can control myself. I'm such a terrible person, not realizing that you're being an animal. You're doing what an animal would do.
Yeah.
But you're judging that in yourself, right? Because you're supposed to be special. So now imagine that. So compare the excitement of that table of abundance. Wouldn't you agree? That would be pretty freaking exciting to be able to go over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's completely get rid of the dieting table. Just get rid of it. It is dismantled. It is done. You never have to do it again. It's bullshit. It's not for you. You're quitting that religion. Done.
Yeah.
And now you live at this table of abundance. It's never going away. All the food restocks. Everything's at your fingertips. Oh my God. Cake is there forever. Popcorn is there forever. Endless bowls of cereal. Endless burritos. Sushi galore. Pasta. Cheeses. Forever. Now what happens?
Well, now it doesn't seem like so special.
It's not.
Yeah.
Well, what happens in your mind and how our psychology works is it becomes something we don't have to hold on to in our mind anymore. I don't have to think about it anymore because I know it's there.
Yeah.
Once you know it is there forever, the key is permanence. You can darken that space. You can turn it off.
Yeah.
Because you know it's there. Then what? Oh my God, you have shit to do. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, when I get hungry, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because you get to go to this table of abundance. You get to choose what I want. Oh my God, because I can have Indian food right now because it sounds good to me. And I don't have to eat everything else because I can eat that when I feel like it. It's there forever. I don't have to eat the whole thing either because you know what? I can have leftovers if I want. I can have new stuff if I want. I can go back 5 days in a row if that's what I want.
Yeah, it's always there.
Always. And so it's not this or that. It's I can have this and that too when I want that. Right? Do you see how when you extend the time that you have this? This is so cool. Your time paradigm. If you can lengthen the time that you have with this food to last forever, or even 20 years. Just imagine you have this for 20 years. In 20 years, cataclysm's going to happen and it's all going to go. Right? 20 years, what would happen to your present relationship with food? It just gets like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I don't have to keep my eye on it.
Yeah.
Now imagine that I say, okay, I hate to tell you this, but all bread is going to be removed from the table forever. And it's starting on this Friday. Starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
What you going to eat today?
Bread.
Oh my God, you're addicted to the bread. That's why you're doing that. I'm being sarcastic. So as soon as you remove that bread, it's like our wiring says famine. We should eat it. It's going away. So is that something you should feel bad about?
No.
Just think about that for a second.
It's natural that you would want to do that.
You got it.
Yeah.
But you know what? The diet industry tells you not only is that the gluten, it's addictive.
Yeah, and that you're flawed because you even eat it at all.
You can't even control yourself.
Yeah.
Not realizing that, hold on a second, look at this from a distance. You just said all bread needs to be removed from this table forever, permanently. And my first instinct is to eat bread. That's something pretty primitive. Hardwire.
Yeah.
Should you judge yourself for that?
No.
And then should we be saying that it's the bread that makes you do it?
No.
I know, that's the fun. That's so funny to me. I'm always like, oh yeah, bread. Oh, I never thought that you trying to get rid of it is promoting that.
Yeah.
But you're not, it's not the bread so much as it is your instinct to feast before famine. We are wired to do that. That's like, no duh.
Wow.
Now tell me how beneficial it is to tell people to cut food out in terms of their overall relationship to that food.
No, it's terrible because of course they're gonna. It's the same thing with the bread, of course.
You're promoting it.
Yeah. Think it's bad. And
you got it.
You're more, and no dairy and no bread.
Yeah, you're promoting this wiring. It's wired.
Yeah, and then the more you do it.
Well, then now you're feeding into the idea I should get rid of it because I just ate so much and I should get rid of it. So now you're kind of stuck in this feast, famine, pendulum swing. Or I got to get rid of it, but all the while shoving it in your face, preparing to get rid of it as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, promoting even more because you feel like you're a piece of shit for gaining weight, why you should get rid of it. I'm a failure this whole time. And then you're sucked into it so close you can't see straight. I think this is such an important conversation. It is so important that we open ourselves up to our primitive animal instincts. Even though we don't live in famine, we're not living in a third world environment. We're third world environment animals. Yeah. We have mechanisms in place that in those environments, our brain changes. Our behavior changes. They've studied this. Your human psyche promotes the relationship with food and water if it is threatened over everything. Yeah. Now, we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's what that is. That was Maslow's research on human behavior and how our psychology prioritizes some certain things over others. And it's always in circumstances. It's in certain circumstances, right? These environments promote our focus on this. Environments promote our focus on this. And so it's like our environment changes how we psychologically respond.
Yeah.
Right? And so what we've always been taught is that your psychological response is a problem if it's not what we want. But what if your psychological response is matching this environment? There's an environment your brain is responding to. So even if it's not what culture wants you to do, they can say they don't want you to act that way, but if this is primitive wiring under certain environments, how are you going to stop?
Yeah, you're not.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. That's the truth. So we can look at this and say, well, you're binge eating. Your behavior with food is so excessive, it's now impacting the body because you're not in famine, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's the environment that would promote that?
Restriction.
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's, but however, it's not just that. You need to see it from, it's not just one thing. It's a whole environment. So it's not just this concept of deprivation. It's paired with abundance in your face. And that's what they found, because they tried to look at binge eating and the promotion that dieting and how we relate to food. And they've looked at different situations and how different people respond to these situations. So they take, like in one study, they took 3 groups. I've talked about this so many times, but it's really relevant. They took 3 groups of people with the same exact food restriction, same exact one, and they gave each 3 a different environment. The first group were restricting certain foods for a spiritual purpose. Like they were fasting. It was this, you're going to do this and you're going to do this for a certain reason you're going to hold in mind to benefit society. It's for the starving children here, or you're doing it because you want to help dogs being, abused. And it's kind of like Lent or a fast. The second group, same exact restrictions, okay, with the food, except for it was focused on weight loss, and they were to completely isolate themselves from other types of food. So they were basically to eat in their home in a controlled environment. No other food in the kitchen, no other access to food, and it's basically very controlled and isolated from exposure to other foods. The third group, same exact restriction. However, they were to eat amongst other people eating other things. All their other food was to be in their house. So they were to do the same restriction for weight loss, okay? And they were to be amongst the abundance. Which group of those 3 showed signs of binge eating behavior?
Well, number 3.
You got it. When they came off of it. The second group were like emotional eating. They were, it wasn't quite the same binge, like impulsiveness.
Yeah.
And the first group, nothing. They went right back into eating like normal people. So they're looking at this concept of being withheld while you're surrounded by food as a self-defense, because it feels there's something in the brain that says food has been taken from you. There's food available and you're not allowed to eat it. So there is this weird feeling that you need to get it.
Absolutely, yeah. Self-defense, that's a really good...
Yeah, like I am being offended. It has been taken from me. So you are more likely to, respond in a more aggressive way. Just, isn't this so cool?
Yeah, it really is.
Right? But, so the problem right now is that because people are looking at it too close, they would look at someone that's eating that way and say, oh, they are addicted to food. or, you know, they have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
They are emotionally eating. Well, is it, of course, there's this emotional relationship we have with food, but is that emotional relationship being promoted because of our primitive wiring?
Yeah.
It's the most important. Food and water are the most important needs of life. Period.
Yeah.
More important than love, more important than your bed, more important than pooping. You know, you got to poop, but when it comes down to it psychologically, our need for food and water is really important. And then it's excretion, and then it's, you know, the bed and sleep, and right.
Yeah.
So this whole industry is basically saying for you to not suck as a person, because we know you care about not sucking. And if you want to not suck, you should try to be thin, because thin people don't suck.
Yeah.
So that's your problem. You go to this business that sells a way to restrict your food. And they say it's the newest, most amazing thing. Okay?
Yeah.
And you're like, sold, I'll do it. And you basically say you can't eat that food. That is abundant all around you.
Yeah.
And so that's why you're told this takes self-control. Is it really? Because what you're controlling is animal instinct control. This takes animal instinct control. You're going to have to repress, hide, deny all of your animal needs. And all of the instincts that are saying, eat, and it gets louder and louder and louder and louder. And eventually it gets big enough that you're agitated, you're irritated, and you go into a position of feeling victimized.
Yeah.
I don't get to eat. No, you don't. Because you got to be thin to be cool. You got to be thin to be not sucky. Right? So you can see that you're competing. And when we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're basically taking our need or desire to feel that we are lovable. And you're saying the way that I do it is by not sucking. And I do that by not being overweight. And then from there, I got to restrict my food, which is basically taking that third hierarchy of need, waging war against the first hierarchy of need, who's got the big guns, and you're in trouble. You know, the third hierarchy of need is like waging war with bows and arrows. And the first hierarchy of needs is like they've got nukes. Who's going to win?
Nukes.
You got it. So that's why, you know, if you look at it, that's absolutely promoting this obesity epidemic. You know what I mean? You can look at that and go, well, the problem isn't the body. It's doing its job. It's doing exactly what it should under those circumstances. Because the behavior is doing what it should. No one's questioning the dieting as the problem.
Yeah.
Which is actually no one's questioning the concept of thinnerness will make you feel better about yourself as a problem. And from there, no one's questioning the fact that you think you're afraid to suck as the problem.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we go right into, is it okay if you actually suck? What if you do? Go there.
Yeah.
And you can see that for some reason, you just feel, oh my God, it would be amazing if I could just say I suck and be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this would be over.
It's amazing.
Then it's over. This whole thing is over.
Yeah.
Because if you're okay with that, why would you diet?
No, you wouldn't. There's no need to. It's not even,
Well, and tell me then, if you're not morally, you know, it not just restricting food, but also moralizing and shaming food and positioning them as bad or good or clean or dirty or whatever you're doing, right? What it does is it takes that sin out of food.
Yeah.
It takes the guilt out of food.
The guilt.
Oh, that is huge right there, because now what do you want to eat? There's nothing to be guilty or afraid of.
Yeah.
It's not just you're being, you got. So I think this is something that's important to consider. If you don't have to lose weight, a lot of people go, well, then what's going to keep me from overeating for the rest of my life? Well, let's think about that for a second, because if you don't need to lose weight, what happens to this concept of morality and guilt eating? Which is,
it goes away.
And then what happens to the binging?
It stops because there's no need for it.
Because you haven't failed. There's no failure.
Yeah.
There's no compensation anymore.
Yeah.
The key to the binge actually is the idea that you have failed. Boom, now you're going to binge. Because you might as well.
Yeah.
You're going to hell, you might as well go to hell all the way before you have penance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
before you ask for forgiveness, you might as well fuck everybody.
Yeah.
Take all the drugs you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Before you stop stealing, steal as much as you can.
Yeah.
You know, so that's also human instinct. It's like, before I stop what I'm doing, I got to get it done as much as I can, because I'm going to stop. And so it actually promotes what you're doing. That's like porn addiction. I'm going to stop. Okay, well, let's watch more porn all day, because tomorrow I'm not going to do it anymore. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
How do you feel about all this?
Oh, Robin.
Yeah, I asked, how do you feel about all this?
Wow, it's that was really powerful. I mean, just the sucking thing. I mean, it's really made an impact on me.
Good. You need to contemplate on that.
Yeah, I do. It's a lot. I mean, I feel it's very powerful, and I really felt it. So, yeah.
Well, compare what you've been doing to not suck to sucking. Which one's worse?
Not sucking.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people are like, well, what about my health? Well, I don't know. You can keep on doing what you're doing for the sake of your health, or you can just have diabetes. Which one's worse?
Yeah.
If you think about it, if people actually contemplate the misery of what they're doing and how hard it is for the body, if you let it all go and you end up with diabetes, you're meant to have diabetes anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is it really that bad? Which one's worse?
I mean, the amount of stress that, yeah. No.
Just stress alone causes diabetes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So take all these thoughts, right? Take all these thoughts and this way of looking at it, and let's go into the concept of, can you accept being this size and letting go forever of your skinny clothes, your smaller clothes, the concept that you will ever be thinner again. Can you let it go? Because if you can, what happens to your relationship with food?
Well, you're not going to restrict and binge.
Yeah, so you're right. You're immediately free from the insanity in the brain.
Yeah. And that.
Screw the whole weight thing. We're talking about the obsessiveness, the fixation, the panic attacks, the constant feelings of shame, guilt, wrong. Like, that's relieved.
Yeah.
You need to focus on that.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to stop recording and let's schedule.